Have you ever wondered how Metro Boomin made two of the best albums of this year that ranked number 1 and number 2 on the Billboard as of right now? Well, if you did, you're not alone, and today we're gonna take a deep dive into Metro Boomin's producing on these two albums, as well as his previous success with other hit songs he's produced, analyze them, then make two beats in the same style to show you how to make these beats sound as close to his production as possible. But first, let's take a look at a brief history of Metro Boomin's past in the industry. So if you lived under a rock and don't know who this man is, Metro Boomin is one of the best producers and songwriters in the game right now, having done multiple number 1 hit songs for big rappers like 21 Savage, Don Toliver, etc. The 30-year-old grew up in St. Louis and started his music career while still in high school, and he started producing beats for rappers mainly from Atlanta. One of the best albums he's produced include Heroes and Villains by Don Toliver and Future, We Don't Trust You by Future, and American Dream by 21 Savage. And now that we've got that out of the way, let's take a quick listen at the beats of the best ranking songs on We Don't Trust You. And at number 1 we have Cinderella. See, the beat for this is very mellow and relaxed, so the main instrument used for the sample was kind of a bell pluck, and then in the middle of the song we have this sound, which sounds like a delayed and reverb guitar. But these simple elements that came in the beat later are very necessary to change the atmosphere, and as you'll see on every upcoming song that's been produced by Metro, he always spices up the sample somewhere in the middle of the song by adding some different element, which I think is a very good signature for his producing. Now let's take a look at my next favorite song on the album, Young Metro. And you'll see this has a very similar vibe. For the main instrument it uses a violin followed by a pad, and it kind of follows the same rhythm as the previous one, except this time it's slower, and the hi-hats have a much faster pattern. Now, if you compare these two songs, you'll notice the same pattern in the sample change, by which I mean that in the second part of the song, the sample gets more and more complex. And this is a good thing to keep in mind when making Metro Boomin type beats, to keep adding elements to the main sample as the song progresses through the middle part. And now that we've analyzed these two instrumentals, I'll show you a beat I've made in the same style and break it down for you. I've already made plenty of tutorials on how to make samples from scratch, so I'm not gonna go over the sample part of the beat, but instead I'm gonna go over how I made the drums and how the beat arrangement should look like. So first, for the intro part of the melody, I kept it pretty simple and stuck with the main sample. I chose this sample because it matches the vibe with the two other songs. Then for the beat drop I added a riser, and for the first bar after the beat drop I chose to stick with the piano just because it gives the intro a less overwhelming aspect to it. It leaves space for the rest of the melody to be filled out. Then for the drums, a spins 808 with a kick layered on top and a simple hi-hat pattern were just enough to do the trick. What you want to keep in mind when making these type of beats is that you want to leave room and space for the rapper to come over the beat, and this rule applies to almost any kind of type beat. And what that means is that you need to cut out as much of the extra noise as possible and just leave out the center idea, and this is exactly why I kept it simple and only added one open hat. Then in this particular beat, the sample change happens on the third bar, and I've added a synth lead that sounds like this. Then for the bridge, I have layered a pad to give it more complexity, which sounds like this. And that was the end of the first beat. Now for the second beat, I wanted to do something more R&B-ish to kind of follow along with the idea of the sequel of We Don't Trust You, but not just any simple R&B beat, but one that sounds like Future could rap on it. So for this beat, the first thing I did was to come up with a main pad melody. The objective here was to make this sound as mellow as possible, and so I did and came up with this. Then to follow that up, I made a chord progression using a pad I found in Analog Lab. This could almost act like a counter melody for the main sample. And last but not least, I added a bell, which is an octave higher than the rest of the melody, and by using this I made use of the empty space we had on the high end. Then for the element of change, I used the lead from Analog Lab, which sounds like this. Then for the drums, I just added a Spins 808 with a kick layered on top, and I added the hi-hats that hit on double the normal speed. So this was the end of the video. If you liked it, please drop a like and comment to boost the algorithm, and let me know what you'd want to see in future videos. And until next time, peace.